Hello, hello, hello. We are live and set up and ready for painting. Good morning, everybody. Hope your Christmas was wonderful. In Colorado here today, we actually have snow. So we did not have snow on Christmas, but now we do. So that's happy. So I'm just going to kind of jump into this painting again. We did the sky, water, the grass and the rocks kind of far away. And now I want to jump into the tree and then the grasses as they come forward, and then the path and the shadows and the dramatic stuff in this area. But I'm going to start with the tree first. And again, I'm going to spray my palette because it just helps keep my paint wet. And I'm squeezing out some white paint. Got my picture here. Need some purple paint. Yay for purple. Favorite color? Sure, we'll stick it right there. We need a little bit of the two different types of blues. You got our sort of more aquamarine kind of a color, green, blue, and then our ultramarine. So we're going to stick those down here because they do different things. So we want to make sure we have both of those available. And then we need probably our red. Ouch. And our yellow. So I'm working with kind of my primaries and white and variations of my primaries and a secondary. But those are my colors. Sorry, I can't really tell. My palette's a disaster. And yes, I use plastic paper plates sometimes because then I can throw them away after a while and not have to clean them. So there's a difference. Drink some tea. Okay. Let's see here. I might use this guy for now and come back to these. Might move this forward a tiny bit. There we go. I've got to face it towards me a little bit more, otherwise I get the perspective wrong. It would be bad. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this slow dry medium on my palette just so I have it. It's not my favorite because it makes the paint too transparent, but nonetheless, we will do it. Tea is my favorite thing. And tea and painting are my favorite things. So I will be drinking my tea as we paint here. Maybe you can get a cup of tea as you watch me. Okay. So color-wise, like we know trees, like tree trunks are brown. But, in pictures and artistic license and from Monet's example, like he doesn't necessarily use those colors And in this case, this is pretty dark so that everything else around it, behind it, can pop. But I also don't want it to be too dark because it's still kind of the mid-ground before the foreground. So this is going to be a little tricky. I still want to go dark enough. So let me just start with something. I can't really tell until I've put something down. So I'm mixing my blues and purples together here. Add in my orange red. Makes a purple. But then if I add my yellow, it'll brown it up a little bit more because now I have all three primaries together. Adding a touch of white to lighten it. And we're going to go back to the blue because things are bluer when they're further away. Add a little bit of the medium. It's not a bad color, but it's maybe a little too gray. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of gray. Which is actually really good for the highlight kind of a color on the trunk anyway. But let's save that. And now I'm going to make a darker version. Okay. Let's try it out. So this is where I want to be more particular with my brush strokes and how I paint this on here. Colors look different when they're next to each other, so I have to try this out. And I painted past my lines, so I have to kind of come in and remember where the edge is supposed to be. Kind of trying to figure out where things end here. So this is a pretty, I mean, this is like kind of a light gray. I don't know if you can tell. So I'm putting in a light gray. It's a medium gray, I guess. I feel like this section is really important, so I'm like taking my time to get the right color. And then I think what's going to help me is if I actually draw or paint in where the major branches are, because then I can be like, I can work from that a little bit more, because I don't have to copy this picture exactly, but I want to get an idea of branches, and branches go straight over the sky, whereas like leaves and stuff, I need spaces in the right spots. So I'm gonna just put in wherever I see the branches should go. And most of them will be kind of blended in and covered up, so they don't have to be perfect. Just getting some ideas in there. The edge, the other edge of the tree here is important. So this is nice and thick, and it comes over to like here and goes up and over. I went right to the corner. Oops. They say to kind of avoid that if possible. And I went right there. Okay. And then that's the edge of the water. So we're going to have a branch that's kind of coming this way and separates into a bunch of little things. Another big guy here that somehow connects. So now that I have kind of a border, I can start to work this area in here a little bit more. I'm going to do layers of some highlights later. My goal is then to cover everything that's white in that completely with that gray, because I need to get rid of it. Because I left those as like major chunks of leaves, and so I want to make sure that I cover all of this, but I don't want to just like paint it in, because I want to think Monet's style here. There's a lot of little things that are happening that I want to make sure I don't ignore. But this is a big chunk of leaves. Like, it's pretty much a solid block, and so besides the edges and these little gaps, I want to leave these open because they're blue and they can show through. This is another clump above. Although, actually, I'm going to cover this guy. I know it sounds awful. And open up here a little bit and create a little gap that's got some sticks through it. And that's going to be the next kind of big branch. I'm going to do another big guy here. There's supposed to be one over the road or the path. Kind of like I want to fill this in, but then just leave little gaps of blue. All right, now what I probably want to do is get these big branches out here next. I'm out of paint, so I need to stock up again on some paint. I gotta remember not to be too tight with my brushwork, because I can tend to be that way. But this is that first layer, because then on top of that, I'm going to add in the greens, some greens, and some highlights to the trunks and things like that. And so all that I can do a little bit more rough, but I wanted to get this base down. That's still, impressionistic and rough. But it's you know, I get caught up in the details sometimes. Okay, let's see. So we're going to mix this again. Something similar. I kind of ended up using all three of those colors that I made earlier because they turned into kind of the same thing. So we're going to do the same thing. I do want to make sure there's enough white to cover. Enough red and yellow to keep it warm. Excuse me. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so there's, and it doesn't have to be exactly like the picture. I keep telling myself that. But in order to capture the essence that I loved about this place and photo is in the photo. So okay, something like that. All right, and we're gonna go in here and be very impressionistic. With all the tapping. That makes it realistic, right? It's the sound effects that make it. Okay, sorry, I'm going back to that. Don't know why. And this gets nice and thick. Kind of combines with this guy. Move that out so it doesn't get irritating. If there's white that's showing that's not supposed to be in that spot, I can always put blue over it later. That will be fine. I can handle that. Okay, here we go. Loosening up a little bit here. Don't forget which branch I'm doing here. they get mixed up. So it's easy to be like, which one am I drawing? None of them. I'm painting them. Sorry, that's a stupid joke. I tend to think a lot when I'm painting, which can be like nice and not nice. I think too much sometimes. It like opens up the floodgates of thought and emotion sometimes. So I get lost in either talking to myself or thoughts about life and stuff. Sometimes it's so strong it's irritating and I have to like not paint. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's definitely a part of painting for me. Okay. I'm liking it so far. This section gets pretty thick. Let's see here. This whole thing is actually pretty filled in. Okay, paint's getting a little tacky. I need to put in a little water. Make sure this is really filled in. You know, the tendency with like this dark color, these dark colors for the trees to like use black. But again, it's not close enough to us to be actually black. So that's why I'm going with the grays and the blues and the purples that have white in them, because it needs to have a lighter appearance because of the distance that there is between us and the tree. An important thing to think about. Checking to make sure there's no like white. I got a little white spot there, but I need that to be blue. So I'm gonna have to fix that later. But then as this comes this way, there's just some little holes of blue. And then this is all filled in. Like so. Then up in here, there's some beautiful little openings. I'm out of paint again. So I'm gonna mix this up. little yellow. Drink some tea. Ooh, too much yellow. Ooh, way too much yellow. That happens sometimes. When there's too much yellow with too much blue, it turns green. And so to balance that out, I put in the complementary color of red to cut back on the green. And then it can sometimes turn brown because then you have orange, red and yellow makes orange, and then you have that with a little bit of blue and it looks kind of brownish. So I need to make sure I go back to still a little brown, which isn't horrible because I need it to have some, oh, actually I might have fixed it. It's still brownish, but it's better. So we're going to use it. Add in, ooh, not too much water. Add in a little bit of water. Keep it liquid-y. And then now I'm going to just start with, since it doesn't really matter, I'm going to start with, like, I was more concerned about this stuff because it's showing, I don't want to come too low to the ocean or anything like that. So this I'm more particular about. Up here, it's kind of like, I just want to get stuff in there. So for the white stuff, I can start by covering that to see kind of what my spacing looks like here. And then I can figure out exactly how to ooh, that's kind of nice. Putting that sort of brownish gray that I made in other spots adds a little interest. Okay. Now I can kind of fill it in a little more to get rid of more blue, but not all the blue. Just want to kind of hide some major areas here. I can make it up as I go. It doesn't matter as much. This is kind of, I want a little bit more purple because too much of that brown makes it a little too, so go in with the purple, mix that with it. And this area up in here, this has lots of little twigs and things, and then it gets kind of thicker up in here. And lots of twigs and things with maybe little tiny specks of blue showing through, but not like crazy amounts or anything, just little specks, kind of like that. I like that. Looks good. I can see some myself. And then over here we got a nice bigger chunk of blue right there. And then as this comes this way, there's another, actually this probably isn't as big as this one, but you know, whatever. And then up in here, there's lots of crisscrossing, bigger chunks of blue here, and then a lot less down in here. And this corner I should get rid of for the most part, because things shouldn't be drawing attention to the corners, as I broke that rule, pointing that stick right to the corner. So again, this is impressionistic, so I can be messy. This kind of has some bigger things through it here. And any white canvas or any weird specks I want to try to get rid of. Oh, my arm hurts. Gotta work out more. And then this section gets a little bit more filled in so that we don't have too much on the corner here. Something like that. Then there's just a little bit of, like, this stuff kind of comes down, like it bleeds into the bottom part of this tree. So down in here, we're going to kind of try to capture those different little twigs and things that kind of break up this blue stuff. The ocean is the blue stuff back in here. And then it gets kind of dark and messy. Down in this area. Yeah. And that carries this direction. So again, covering white as I go. And it bleeds down into here, which will be another bush thing. We got, yeah, the shadow comes across here, which I'll do just, I mean, I could probably do it now, but it'll be a slightly different color. And then that's going to come up over into here. So you can start to get the feel, right, of that open spot in the middle. While I'm at it, though, I kind of want to finish up the tree and put in the greenery, the parts that are actually green popping forward, because that's what's going to make it really look like a tree. So let's see. We do have classic green. So I'm going to use my phthalo blue, or my, I guess it's called processed cyan is what this is called, but it's a green blue, like a phthalo, and yellow. Those two together are going to make a nice, nice green. But I do want to, still going to be grayed down, but I want to start fresh with a clean brush. So mixing these two together, you get kind of a nice, really nice green, a very fakey green. Primary, well, green is secondary, a very secondary green. And so, and that green's in here, but it's just not that vibrant. So I want to add in the purple that we have going on over here. Little bit of the white just to keep it lighter. I might even put a little red just to really neutralize it down. We're going to try it because it still might be too dark. And I'm going to figure out places that it goes because it's not like it's everywhere. And I can go on top of it with something else. But this is my chance to really just hint at a little bit of that color. Let's see. It's kind of on this branch more. You know, because it's kind of backlit. And so you're seeing a little bit of the green, but you're really not seeing that much of it because it's the brightness of the background's affecting how your eye is reading that color. Yep, that's, and there's actually some spots where the light is hitting it, so we're gonna have fun with that. But let me get this green in here where I want it to be. Let's see, I'm getting a glare. Yeah, this is gonna come all the way this way. It's just hints of it up in here. Not a lot because it's kind of getting this weird back lit orangey brown, which that brown that we put down is like perfect. But I'm just going to hint at some of that. And then most of it is on this big branch here, which actually gets a little bit more light. And I'm watching texture here. I want to make sure I'm not just fussing around with texture to make it look like something else. I want to make it look like this type of tree, whatever this type of tree is here. Leaving some of the dark showing through still. But it's just a lot greener right there, probably because there's a lot more dark right above it. And so it's like able to be more visible. Okay, now while that's still wet, I'm going to add in just a little bit more of slightly brighter. It's a little scary, but there's just a few spots where the sun is sort of hitting this, and it looks about that green in these spots anyway. Because this is, you know, California scene, and California's pretty green, so that's sort of the hint there. Like that. And then the other spots that I noticed that the light is hitting, it's definitely more orangey. So I want to not go in with just the bright green because that wouldn't do it probably. And I want to do it with putting a little red into that green and yellow. And so my brush, there's just a few, it's very subtle, but you know, it's those little subtleties that we can pay attention to make something look realistic or implied to look realistic. So the color I'm seeing is kind of like this. Oops, maybe a little bright, a little bright. But that idea of like, oh, the sun is hitting these little guys here and some of these little ones here in the end. Some of this up in here. I like that a little better. So I'm going to put a little bit more of that in this little spot. There's a little bit of sun catching that, and there's definitely more up in here. And back in here as well. A little bit in here. There's our mailman. There's just little hints of warmth, and it's beautiful. So I want to make sure it's like the leaves in the back, on the back side, are catching some light. It's really, I didn't notice it before, but it's really going to make this painting if I can put that in there. I love finding those little sparkles of interest, you know, just to like bring out stuff that you didn't notice and that most people probably wouldn't notice, but it's like what makes the painting actually pop. Okay, I'm really, really happy with that. I feel like there could be a little bit more of this in here. That's, yeah, it's there, close. Just need little hints of stuff in here. Not a lot, but enough to bring that forward. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I don't want to overwork it. And then, just touched my glasses. I want to work on the shadow, like down here. I'll show you this up close though, so you can see how it's coming along without the slight glare. Hopefully you can see that. You get a little bit of backlight in this room, but there's the texture so far. Oh, actually, you know what I want to do is the trunks in here have a little bit more highlight to them. And so I want to kind of with the colors just on my palette, add a little white to it. Gets a little bit a grayed color, and it's mostly on these little guys here. Let's see if it's bright enough. Yeah. And then I'm losing a little bit of the dark. And while I'm at it, might as well do that. I'll squeeze out paint for my next, the shadow. The shadow's gonna be so fun because it's gonna be this dark purple, like starts a little lighter and then gets darker and deeper and warmer as it comes forward. It's just gonna be so nice. I should fix that sky also because there's kind of that white gap in there that's a little irritating. So we'll do that first with a clean brush. Oh, it's actually got a little bit of the phthalo blue green in there. There we go. And actually I could do, now that I'm thinking of it, I don't want to do this too much, but taking that color, I can kind of put in some spaces that maybe I overdid a little much. It can just add a little sparkle to do that too sometimes. Just plop in a little bit of fresh blue here or there. Sometimes there's little gaps that it's like, oh, I can just put that in, put that back in, because I may have covered it. Okay, that's good. Just a little bit. Okay. Now we're gonna darken up the tree trunk just a little bit on the one side. It's really just these guys over here. Yeah, that's it. That's all I needed. Just a little bit more dark. Okay, so I am going to do the path next because even though it's like that's what I want to do next, it actually makes sense to do next because the grasses can overlap it on the edge here a little bit. And this bush here, when that comes in, can overlap the path too. So I'm going to focus on this going past my lines a little bit more and really capture that colors because it's got the, I don't know if you can see the blue reflecting, probably can't see that, the blue reflecting from the sky onto the shadow. So the shadow's got this purpley blue hue to it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm trying to decide if I probably do that color and then as it gets forward this way, jump into the lighter color to add in those interesting shadows. So let's see if I can capture that color. It looks hard. It looks intimidating. Because there's definitely different values of the color. So let's take a look. See, it's got a warm undertone, but then it's got like these blues on top. So It's going to be interesting. And it's like very easy to mess up the color pretty quickly. And I kind of need to try it. Try it down first to see if I can get a feel for those colors, because it's very blue, but light in the distance there. So let's see if this is at all close to what I want. Actually, that's not too bad. That's actually pretty accurate. Yeah, pretty blue, pretty light. Might not look that light to you, but it still needs to be kind of light. And any light spots I can put in later. So I'm just gonna kind of fill this in where I see it. Any sunspots is what I meant to say. That's what's gonna make this really come to life, is the sunspots. I want to even go in with a little white and just like highlight right in there. Just give it a little bit of glow right here. Then as it comes forward, it's going to get darker, so I can go into the color I had originally before I kept lightening it. And we're going to come forward with that color. As it gets this direction, actually, it actually gets bluer again. But I'm running out of paint. There's definitely some deeper parts on the edges here. I'm going to go in with a little bit more, but this gets pretty deep and dark back in here. Oops. Too much blue. I don't know if this is going to be deep enough in here, but I can go right up into where the bushes are gonna come from, because I want to make sure that when I do the bush, it can overlap into the path a little bit more. I need a little bit of red. Hurry. Make sure it's blending a little bit with the stuff I just put down. And then it goes again far enough into the bushes over here. So it's gonna look wider than it actually is. But that's the trick. Especially in acrylic when you have to plan ahead a little bit, otherwise it's gonna end up being it's gonna dry on you and you're gonna be like, no, I'm supposed to do this. You get weird edges and stuff, so you want to plan for that. Okay, and this gets a little darker up in here. So hopefully you can see that right there. That's what I was going for, the reflection of the background, the sky and stuff in the on the path is just something to pay attention to when you're painting or when you're looking at nature. Like, do you see that stuff or do you not? Is that what makes it attractive? Is that what, I don't know. For me, it definitely caught my eye here. It was just so pretty. All right, now as it's coming forward, it's warming up, which is definitely warmer than back there. But I want to bring this dark kind of all the way this way. Still has white in it though, because it's not black. It's just a dark gray purple type of a color. And so I want to make sure that I'm getting dark enough as it comes forward, but it's not black. And I have to think I'm working with the shadows. I don't have to fill in this whole area down here because that's where light is hitting it. But I have to think about where are the shadows from these plants off to the side. Can I, deepen that, bring that forward, bring it farther than it needs to be so that I can bring the light in more and refine that edge a little bit. So that way I don't have to do that color again. Up here I did the blue again, just in a little spot. But if I wouldn't have gone all the way to my edges of the blue, I've had to do a lot more of that, which would be irritating. Okay. And we're gonna come back in here a little bit more. Again, make sure this is dark enough. But then it gets light again as it comes into this little area, light and back into the sort of the blues. And so I want to hint at that again down in here. Yeah. Brighten that up a little bit more. Make it bluer. Yes, it's forward more than what's back there. And stuff closer to you is warmer than things farther away. So, oops. Oh, it's actually a lot lighter too. I want to make sure I'm getting light enough. A little bit of warmth to pop inside there. Coming a lot farther than my sketch so that I make plenty, put plenty of that color where it needs to be. So I can have fun with brush strokes. I'm just kind of dabbling. Just dabbling. Scumbling, whatever you want to call it. Across the surface here. A little hint of warm is kind of nice. Put a little bit of yellow in there just to make sure this doesn't get too cool too far forward. I'm having so much fun. I don't know if you can tell, but this is really fun. Cover canvas, cover canvas. Don't want any spaces where I'm putting paint, that is. My paint's actually nice and thick. That's a nice thing about with acrylic adding lots of white when you need to. Oops, I added too much. Speaking of white, is that it covers more. It's more transparent, or it's more opaque. So that's always a plus. Okay, it gets a little, oops, too dark, too dark, too dark. It looks like it gets kind of greenish in this little spot down in here. So we're going to make it a little greenish. Still has a little bit of that purpley look though on the ends. It's a lot of colors to be flipping between, you know, trying out, changing. I don't know where my line is anymore here, but we're just gonna fill a lot of this in so that we don't end up with spots that aren't what we want. Have enough paints to get that effect. A little bit lighter, a little bit more purple, a little bit warmer. Yeah. I can't quite get this color for some reason. It's probably because I got too much, got like yellow on my brush. It's hard to get vibrant colors like that. Okay, and like I said, it gets kind of bluish green on this side a little bit. So we're gonna put that in. A little bit of this kind of color right in here. I have no idea if I'm painting like Monet did, but you know, I'm just doing my best. Painting. I still don't know if I'm too tight or not, but it's something. It's there. Let's go in with a little bit more of this bright purple, a little bit more blue, maybe color just a little bit in here to create a sparkle and to leave some brush strokes, because that's what Monet did. Is he's gonna leave some areas, some little pockets of something lighter to hint at, whether that's changing texture or changing light or something like that. Hinting at anything that we can with brush strokes. And the brush strokes are going to get thicker, bigger, more prominent as they get forward, because they need to show some more texture. Whereas farther away, you're just implying texture. Okay, I still want to make sure I have that sort of turquoisey color in here. A little bit of green, a little bit of green. It just adds interest when you have some variety of colors. My paint is really getting sticky. It's drying. No. This gets a little bit brighter. And this stuff over here gets dark again. Oh, on the edge. I want to make sure I'm not neglecting this spot. Gets a little warmer with the dirt color in here, because it's again closer to us than it was. So back in here, maybe cooler. And then as it comes forward, it gets sort of warm. Again, it's really warm over in here. I'm going to just maybe fill this in a little bit more on this side. But I'm running out of paint. No. Here we go. Yeah. Maybe a little too light. Add in the nice purple to deepen it a little bit. But sometimes hinting at that is just a good thing to do. It does get darker. It's coming down in front a little bit more. Bigger brush strokes. My paint got too thin because I added too much water. Things happen. I'm gonna have trouble, guys, when this video is over, to not just keep painting on it. I'll try to save it for you. I have another one. Actually, I'll show you. I have another one in progress right now, that I can always work on, that I'm really excited about where it's going also. So I can keep you posted on that guy. But let's just make sure that I have the colors I want down in here, and then I will be done for today. Even though I could keep going. I really brought my shadow a lot farther, which is perfect, because then I can bring in the highlights, the warm warm light popping through there on top later. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. My biggest thing with painting is capturing light. I love dramatic light, and I've forgotten that over the last probably 6-8 months. I went into a kick of some abstract flowers, which are really fun, which I did here live not too long ago. But I forget that this is my true love is impressionism and landscapes with dramatic lighting. Like that truly is one of my favorite things. Okay, I will stop there for now. So we did obviously all the tree and the path today, and then next time I can work on that shadow that goes into the grasses, and then the different lights in the grasses, the lights on the path, the bushes over here that are mostly kind of like the tree again, with some highlights of some green popping through, but making sure this is the focus. So let me show you that up close. So you can see kind of the process so far. Light hitting this. It looks better in person. The video's not doing it justice with the, it's just a little darker. But in person, it's got a lot more color in this area. So thanks for watching, and I will be back next week with, which will be the new year, 2020, with finishing this guy up, hopefully. And yeah, please like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.